Hello busy bees, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited. Today is going to be an interesting topic for those who are new. My name is Tukei and I'm going to be talking about something very exciting happens to us at a personal level, and also if you have a business you ought to know. That is very simple. Ever heard of a crisis management plan or crisis management in general? That's what we're diving in. So let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about all you need to know about a crisis management plan. What that means is people always have crises, things always happen, you always have situations coming up, but how do you go about it? You always need to be prepared. As a person, as a brand, it's always key for you to always be ready for anything that may come up, which is why I'm asking you, do you have a crisis management plan? If you do not, what are you waiting for to draft one? So we all know a crisis is something that's unexpected and it happens and it causes potential damage it could cause potential damage to your brand, personal brand, or the business brand, whichever you have. So always be ready when something happens. So how do you go about this? Always have a situation room put in place. What this means is you have all your staff coming together and they discuss what could be potentially damaging, what issues could arise. You know, if I'm a restaurant, what other, you brainstorm amongst you know, what other possible issues that could arise? Maybe you have a cockroach in the food. That is a potential damage, a potential issue. You should look into it. Or if you are a transportation company, you always have to keep in mind that sometimes your people will transport stuff that are damaged and your clients will not be happy. Always have those issues in mind. If you're a bank, someone will go to the ATM, there will not be money. Do you have holding statements? Do you have all this planned for? Instead of just waiting, you know, every time you come up with a company, think, what are the likely issues that are going to come up? So what you need to do is to always have a holding statement for each issue. So you've listed down the issues that could easily come up because of your company's existence. So always find scenarios and say, this is what I would say if this happened. I mean, if you are married, right? You need to have eventualities of what if my husband / wife dies? What will happen? How will I feed my kids? It's always good for you to be prepared. Going back to crisis communication, you always need to understand that these problems are always going to come and therefore you need to be ready. I'll not emphasize this enough. Once you have a holding statement, be ready now because you're going to use that when a crisis arises, right? I can give you an example, right? If you're on Twitter and someone comes up and says, your boss is fond of harassing the employees in the company, right? That is one hell of a crisis right there. So you as a spokesperson, which is, I'll come back to that later on, you as a spokesperson ought to have put that into consideration. What will happen if such an incident happens? So these are things you need to note. You always need to have a spokesperson. You always need to have a leader of a crisis management plan. What a spokesperson does is he or she is the one responsible to talk to the media and all stakeholders about the issue that is at hand. In most circumstances, it's the PR that's a spokesperson. But that could change because what if it's a legal issue, right? What if it's an HR issue? What if it's a business issue? Most PRs only have general knowledge on that field. So if it's a legal issue, it is only fair that it is the company lawyer that comes up and speaks on behalf of the company because they have the lingo, they understand the lingo. If it's an HR issue, let the HR come speak up. And another thing most companies do, which is not right, is when you have a crisis, why would you let your CEO come and speak each time for the company? Right? It's not good. Your CEO is not supposed to come and speak on behalf of the company. At that point in time, actually, your CEO is negotiating with other stakeholders, seeing how to best minimize this issue that is happening. So it's on very rare occasions that actually the CEO comes to speak on behalf of the company. Maybe if it's an issue of national importance, maybe the company is at loggerheads with the government and you want to respond to something that the president said, then it's only fair that the CEO comes up and speaks on behalf of the company. Otherwise, it's always the PR, who is the generic person for that. Also, I mentioned something about being the team lead of the crisis management that's happening. So if there is a scenario, right, and like I said, the HR, you find out that your boss is sleeping around with, the employee stuff. You as the HR, in that sense, could be the owner of the plan, or it could be the CEO, anyone, as long as you know the nitty-gritties, how to go about this, from the start to finish. How are we going to go about who is going to speak? When do you speak? Your employees should never speak unless they've been told to. So all that is very crucial when you're drafting all that, the crisis management plan. I do not want to go longer into this, but I'll just give you simple tips, very few tips that you can always consider when you're in a crisis. I think that will help all of us. You have to understand which social media platforms to use when responding to a crisis. So if it was a crisis that broke out on Twitter, the person went and complained and said, this company, so ABC, they do not respect their customers. I went in the office and then they wanted me to make a queue, and yet someone else came in. And if it's on Twitter, you have to respond on Twitter. If it's on Facebook, you respond on Facebook first. Then you can go and scale into the other platforms. And then another thing you need to understand is you should always tell the truth. I know many of us are tempted and you want to lie. Never lie. When you're in a crisis, I think this is my personal recommendation to you. Always tell the truth, because the moment you do not tell the truth firsthand and then someone else finds out, let's say the journalists go on and dig and find out that it's not actually the truth, you are done. That's another crisis. Another crisis after that. They'll never take you seriously. It will always be company X does not tell the truth, and your brand will just be squashed in a matter of seconds. And then the other thing you need to also know is when you tell the truth, and it's probably that bad. I know most of you are saying, no, you don't need to tell everything. Let me tell you something, right? People always forgive. They always remember, yes, it will happen. They will forgive you, because incidences always happen. You're not the first, you're not the last. This week it will be you, they'll talk about it all week. The next week it will be another person. So always know that the universe always forgives. So do not bite yourself over something, correct it, have that nice statements to always give out, have a holding statement with you, say, we have investigated the issue and so, and we shall have this person fired. We have learned that this and this happened, and always respond. Do not keep quiet. The moment you keep quiet, someone else will break that story for you. You better break that story yourself if you want to be on the safe side, so there is no picking on you. Okay, that is what I had for today. There is so much you can talk about crisis communication and how to make a plan. So if you're interested in this video, I'll just have, let's say, a second episode of this. We shall call it, let's say, part 2, and then we shall talk about how to draft a crisis management plan and how to go about it. Tell me if you like the video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and like, comment. Let's share these ideas. Let's make department the best ever. I hope you liked it.